Welcome to Fake Presidents, a real podcast about,
Each episode will take a deep dive into a fictional American president from pop culture to see just how much fiction there really is.
I'm Eric Buckman, a former political consultant turned TV writer.
I'm Ben Oren, a former journalist, sometimes speechwriter, and all-the-time TV producer.
And today, we're watching Amazon Prime's romantic comedy, Red, White, and Royal Blue. It's a movie basically about what would happen if the Empire of Great Britain and the Empire of the United States decided to get together and fuck something other than indigenous people across the globe.
Yeah, if they're like two fingers moving together and hitting together right at the tip.
Like E.T. and Elliot.
Like E.T., it's like... Oh, yes. It's like the first true... I mean, it's not the first gay rom-com. Billy Eichner, get off our backs, okay? I know you're already... The Ike heads are already coming at us. Bros was the first. It wasn't the first.
No, there have been...
That was the first big studio rom-com.
Yes. Yeah. The indie space has had plenty for a while now. What's nice about this is it's the first with a fake president.
Yeah.
And it makes a nice triumvirate with First Daughter and the one we haven't watched yet. What's the other one? With Mandy Moore?
Finding Liberty.
Searching for Liberty?
Finding Liberty.
Is that what it is?
Searching for Liberty is the prequel.
Got it. Today we're talking about it. I don't know how long we'll be talking because the movie did almost all of our work for us.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it for that.
Get off my plane.
It's based on a book by Casey McQuiston. They're known in the book space for doing queer-friendly rom-coms, which I think is super cool. They've done a bunch of books within that space over the past few years. They're a huge success within the book world right now. This was adapted by Matthew Lopez, who is a Tony Award winner, multi-Tony Award winner. He wrote the book for Some Like It Hot. He wrote The Inheritance. Neither of those I've seen, but this guy has been a presence on Broadway for about 15 years now.
Oh, wow.
So co-wrote it with Ted Mallower, who I didn't know a lot of his credits. American Rust and Halston he wrote for.
So he's got a scripted film and TV background. Matthew Lopez, a lot of stage. Casey, a lot of books.
A lot of pages. From page to stage to screen.
It's also produced by, speaking of people from TV, Greg Berlanti and Sarah Schechter, who've produced maybe 1,000 TV shows at this point.
About everything on the CW for about a good 10 years.
Although, speaking of cinematic rom-coms, I do believe Greg Berlanti, he did direct the movie version of not Love, Victor. Love, Victor was the TV version. It was the movie one was...
Love, Simon,
yes. Starring the kid from Jurassic World.
Chris Pratt?
Nope, not Chris Pratt. Nope.
Sam Neill?
Nope, that's Jurassic Park. And the third
Jeff
Jurassic World.
Goldblum?
Nope.
Look, from what I know is life finds a way. So that's all I'm saying.
And so does love. Love also finds a way, Ben.
Love finds a way.
As it does in this movie. The plot, super simple. You have the son of an American president, this time played by Uma Thurman. And you have the son of actually, it's pretty prescient of them, a king of England.
It's the grandfather.
The grandfather is the king, yeah. But he's also not first in line of his generation, so...
He is a spare.
He's the Prince Harry. And much like the real Prince Harry, it's about what happens when a British spare heir falls in love with an American celebrity, we'll say, and it forces them to question their entire role and the purpose of the British monarchy. But you know what? This isn't called fake British politics.
No. Fake presidents.
Yeah.
Because our president, Uma Thurman, plays President Ellen Claremont. Like we said, her son is Alex Claremont Diaz, played by an actor named Taylor Zachar Perez.
Oh, wow. His fans are going to be so angry at you for not knowing that instantly off the tip of your tongue.
The tip of my tongue is very long, so it takes time sometimes to get everything out. Prince Henry is played by Nicholas Galtzine, like a magazine, I'm assuming. The first gentleman first gent, is actually also a senator in the movie.
Congressperson.
Senator.
Did they say senator?
And according to Wikipedia,
Okay.
senator. Senator Oscar Diaz, played by Clifton Collins Jr., wonderful actor. There's not a lot of... all the other actors in the movie are like somewhat... are familiar. Sarah Sahi is the deputy chief of staff. Stephen Fry is King James the Third. Did you recognize anybody else?
We got a Rachel Maddow cameo.
Yeah, playing Rachel Maddow.
And we got Joyanne Reed. So I got 2 MSNBC anchors or hosts.
Do you think Maddow writes her own stuff for when they're like, okay, like you're going to be on in this movie. This is the vibe. We need like 30 seconds of you Maddowing.
Yeah,
because like nobody Maddows like Maddow.
Well, I know the smart thing you do. What you usually do is you write sample copy for your comedian, for your Jay Leno, for your Jimmy Fallon to say, and they're playing themselves version. But you also encourage them, why don't you make it in your own voice? Say what you want to say. And you really hope they at least say what you wrote, so you have at least that for the plot in case they get all the details wrong. And, although I'm sure there are some celebrities who show up and they're just like, just tell me what to say, dude. And I'm sure there are others saying, I got it.
Have fun with it. Make it your own.
Yeah.
The Maddow stuff sounded like Maddow. I wasn't like, this seems like a weird, like, what's wrong with her? How come she doesn't sound like her normal self?
The plot, American Prince, actual Prince. When the movie starts, they already have a rivalry going.
They do not like each other.
Yeah. It reminded me a lot, because one of my favorite rom-coms of all time is My Best Friend's Wedding. And the 2 reasons why I like it, obviously the ending, when you find out you've been rooting for the villain the entire time, but also the beginning. Like the first act of that movie is 5 minutes long. Like there's 5 minutes of setup before she gets the phone call that puts the entire plot into motion. And this was pretty similar in that it starts in media res, they would say in film terms. We get one big interaction with them on British soil at
the royal wedding.
A royal wedding for
his brother.
Henry's brother.
Yeah, for like the Prince William character.
Yeah, the one who is in line for the throne. They get out of the way pretty quickly that these 2 people do not like each other. Within 3 minutes of the movie starting, there is a giant toppled wedding cake covering half the dance floor.
It was a big cake.
It's one of those things where obviously the director asked for a bigger cake, but did not ask for a bigger table. And so before blaming these 2 boys for the toppling of the cake, as does get done throughout the first act of this film, and is what forces them to have to reconcile, is it's such an embarrassing moment for both of them that they both get blamed for. In truth, no, I blame the caterers. Like that cake should never have been left that vulnerable to the slightest touch.
I mean, I'm surprised that neither of them made that argument on screen, because it makes total sense. It's just like, don't look at us for getting into a pushing little wrestling fight in front of this giant cake. Blame the caterer. Yeah,
it was on a dance floor. Anyone could have danced right into it. But yeah, and then they, during their reconciliation tour, because I guess the United States and Great Britain, because it is a post-Brexit world in this movie, they're working on some sort of trade deal.
It's a very important trade deal, Eric. It's not just some sort. It is the trade deal that will get President Claremont reelected. This is important, Eric. Yeah. This trade deal with the UK, as we all know, trade deals with the UK make or break presidencies.
It's kind of like how in A Line of Fire, it was a French trade deal.
This will save American jobs in the Rust Belt. It will win her the factory workers of Michigan and Iowa. They're all looking towards the Isle of Britain. We need to get our products there. How could we ever do that? That will save our homes, save our cars. We will be able to afford to put our children through college if only this trade deal with the UK happens. But it's fragile. I mean, why wouldn't Britain just sign it? Like, a lot goes into this. It takes years, Eric. Years.
I feel like almost a better argument in the world of this movie, just to match the real world, is if Sarah Shahi, who plays
Deputy Chief
of Staff, but she's also really the only person who speaks on behalf of either the administration or the campaign even.
Yeah.
If at some point she just says to the son, like, look, there is royal fever right now in America. America loves the British royal family. That wedding just happened. You cannot piss them off.
Yeah. But also going into the event, I believe the president told her son, like, just don't cause an international incident.
Yeah.
That's all he had to do. Don't cause an international incident. My trade deal will happen. Boom. 4 more years.
4 more years, except later we find out that her lock on the presidency is far less certain than that. In fact, for most of the movie, they make her feel like she is on her way out and needs a miracle to save her presidency for the second term. But during this reconciliation tour, that's when the first son and the prince, that's what I'm going to call them for all this. Otherwise, I'm going to say mix up Henry and Harry way too many times. They're in a hospital together doing a photo op with sick kids when a balloon pops, but it sounds like a gun. They're forced to lock down in a closet, but it's a false alarm. But in that moment, it starts off with these two people like, why do you hate me so much? And I can't believe you're such a jerk. But then we get a little bit of backstory, especially from the prince first, about what it's like, being gay, in a world where that's just not allowed for him.
Because he belongs to the people. He cannot do what makes him happy because for everything that the crown has given him. This is what he needs to give back to the citizenry of the UK.
Yeah, and I guess it's worth pointing out at this point, it wasn't clear in the movie, but I think we're supposed to buy that the first son at this point to the world, he is straight.
He is straight. He knows he is bi. He is a law student at Georgetown who wants to be involved with his mother's re-election campaign. He is friendly with some journalists. One journalist he got very friendly with once in a hot tub, and that journalist would like to take another dip, but Alex is not interested.
Let's just say that journalist got a peek at the jobs report.
And everything is looking up. Everything's looking upwards.
Yeah. See, it's a hand jobs report is what I was saying, Ben.
Yeah, that's why upwards. That would be the penis.
And my wife just walked in. It's a good thing she can't hear your side of the call right now.
Tell her that I'm saying we're talking about penises.
This is a presidential favor.
So, they have this moment in the closet. And when they leave the closet, maybe that's a metaphor, but when they leave the closet, they are at least now friends, legitimately, and they can't stop texting each other. And I actually thought it was kind of clever how they would deal with the texting in this movie, how usually you start off on them looking at their phones, and by the end of the scene, they're just in the same scene together, still looking at their phones, but at least in the same space.
But not a split screen or anything like that.
Yeah.
That was a nice take.
And that happens because they're basically in separate countries. They're separated by thousands of miles, and the next time they're in the same city together, they wind up doing a lot more than just texting.
Well, the president tells her son that it's very important for him to get Prince Henry to attend his New Year's party.
Oh, yeah, the New Year's party.
His New Year's party is a must-attend event.
It's a massive rager on the White House lawn.
On the White House freaking front lawn. Yeah, crazy. It's crazy.
It was, and they use like the same sort of tenting that they would use for like a state dinner outside.
That would never happen.
Well, also because why would you do an outdoor party on December 31st in Washington, D.C.?
In Washington, D.C. Why would a president ever think it would be okay for their child to throw a massive rager when they're trying to get reelected? Maybe, you know what? Maybe if it's your second term, whatever, I don't give a fuck. Have a party, rage on. We're not checking IDs or anything like that. No background checks. You know what? You deserve it. Have fun on the front lawn on essentially, the taxpayer's dime. No, she's running for re-election. She's like, have fun, son.
Yeah, well, and it's also not it called an annual event. This is not the first time it's happening. I was like, who's paying for it? Because it's not like a state function, but is it a campaign function? Because the parents are longtime public servants.
Yeah, they're long time. They talk about how they didn't come from money. The money that they do have came from the president writing a book, probably before she ran for office.
But they do wind up hooking up. Legitimate relationship ensues. The son winds up taking a leave from Georgetown to actively work on the campaign because it turns out he's got a plan to help his mom win Texas.
For the first to flip Texas.
Which I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit because she's a congressperson from Texas.
Yes.
Yeah, so we know she's not been elected statewide. It also makes me question whether or not the husband is a senator then, because that would imply he's
the senator from Texas,
which has not voted, which would have already been a flip if he's a Democrat representing the entire state. So that's why, I walked. I didn't look at the Wikipedia page.
Wikipedia might be wrong.
My impression watching the movie a month ago, and my notes here is that he is a representative.
That's what I thought. I wrote down initially representative. So I think maybe now saying it out loud, the Wikipedia page is taking it from the book. and making leaps.
Yeah, because I did read about her character in the book, how she was a lawyer who would do stuff before the Supreme Court, and which did not line up with her backstory here from what we do find out.
Yeah.
But anyway, they fall in love. They have a relationship. He's actively campaigning for his mother in Texas, and we find out what his grand plan is to win Texas. Actually, he gets in trouble first when the reporter who he had a thing for winds up writing an article about the fact that there is a plan to win Texas, which then puts the mom on the spot.
A memo. He wrote a memo.
A memo, which puts the mom on the spot because she's like, there is no plan to win Texas. Why we're focusing on states other than Texas right now?
Yeah, didn't you hear about we're wooing the Rust Belt with this big deal UK trade deal?
Yeah. So he winds up getting eventually the okay from the mom, who loves him very much, to go down to Texas and actually put into motion his memo. And what is that grand plan, Ben?
Register voters.
To energize the youth vote and register 1 million new young voters. So yeah, it's a voter registration drive. It's his big plan. But it's with him spearheading it, this young, attractive,
charismatic.
Yeah, like I can see how it almost makes you wonder why is it waiting until now to engage him in this way in the campaign? It'd be one thing if the mother's attitude was no, not politics for you. Like, you need to stay on your own path.
Or if he was just a party boy, but obviously he's a smart dude. Yeah. He's at Georgetown Law.
I mean, he had connections.
Yeah, he's a bit of a nepo baby, but still.
Although we'll talk more about the mom. My implication is both the mom and the dad had like pretty humble Texas-based educations and no Ivy stuff there. But then while this is going on, and it's so far a pretty conflict-free movie. I mean, you have a son who loves the mom and a mom who loves the son, so no real fighting there.
No.
Where does the conflict come from? At what point does things start to be in jeopardy for both the relationship and the campaign?
While Alex and Prince Henry are seeing each other, they are seeing each other on the down low. They're not going out to clubs together. They're not. It's a friendship where they sneak away to have some fun on the side. However, also pulled from the headlines though is that eventually their phones are hacked and their texts are released, and the world finds out that Prince Henry and Alex are indeed a thing.
And the mother's response, this, who we should point out, she is a Democrat, but a Texas Democrat. She's got the pseudo-Texas sort of accent in tow. What is her reaction, Ben?
The most loving reaction you would ever want. I want to. Yeah. I'm not even looking to come out of any closet. But when I do, I'm coming out to President Claremont.
Yeah, she's very much an ally. Her initial advice is basically to her son, you need to figure out if you feel forever about him before you take it further, because a relationship like this will define your life. She's not pushing him one way or the other. She just wants him to make sure he knows who he is. And then she goes further.
And then she goes way further. She wants him do you wear a condom when you're having anal intercourse? She wants to talk about Truvada and HPV. She goes all in.
Yeah, she has advice about bottoming.
And if you're bottoming, then you need the HPV vaccine, and I can have HHS send over some brochures.
She's like, let's order pizza and talk bottoming.
Which, of course, implies that if she's the supportive person, then the dad's obviously going to be the one with an issue.
Obviously. However, no. He's like, I'm the patron saint of same-sex bathrooms in Texas.
Yeah. So are there, I guess, maybe Texas has them in this world. I mean, it feels like the kind of thing.
They're Austin people. They're from Austin.
Yeah, so, I mean, no conflict there. But obviously, Prince Henry has a very different experience on his side, which we won't talk about because that's not what this podcast is about.
No, but basically the king doesn't like it, wants him to stay in the closet.
Even though it's been kind of exposed.
Yes.
But, yes. Because the kings don't understand how the
internet works at all.
But eventually, Ben, we have two 20-somethings who are initially forced apart because of this thing coming back together at the same time as the campaign is righted. And what happens, Ben?
She wins the second term.
Yeah, she wins the second term.
All because of the Texas plan.
Yeah, the 1 million new voters, young
Well,
voters in
it takes
Texas.
a lot more than 1 million new voters to flip Texas, but okay.
We probably have devoted more time to explaining how a rom-com works than needed to. We could have just said they meet, they fall in love, something
they're pulled
happens,
apart.
get pulled apart, but then they have some grand gesture at the end, which brings them back together.
Was there a grand gesture at the end? Alex gave a great speech when their emails were hacked, saying, "This is who I am. I'm bi. I love this man." And the prince is like, "Well, I don't know. This is hard for my family." And then finally he's like, "You know what? I'm back, baby."
Yeah.
I mean, that was basically it, right? There wasn't like a grand gesture. There's no running. Nobody was running through an airport to each other. Like, I have to find, it was like the night of the election. He's like, I got to get in there somehow so I could tell him how much I love him. And then he holds up a big sign that's really large.
No.
Says, I love
Okay,
you,
but
Alex.
then-
Like, none of that happened.
But in the world of political rom-coms, especially political rom-coms at this level with presidential figures, grand gestures are the speeches. You know, the American president, he doesn't run to the airport to get Annette Bening. No, he just tells her, I fucked up, I was wrong. I'm going to support your thing. I'm going to give the speech now. Not even to the entire country. Not even during the State of the Union. It's during the Q&A portion of a pretty typical White House briefing.
There's nothing from Prince Henry. Henry did not really fight that hard.
He
He didn't even renounce. He didn't even renounce his. He didn't even renounce his position. He didn't even do what Harry basically did and was like, "I'm out. I'm living in Montecito now. I don't need any of this crap."
That's a pretty big commitment when he doesn't have a ring on yet. I'm just saying, he should save that for, that's the sequel. Which, has there been a sequel?
Put a ring on it.
Yeah. Anyway, let's just jump into the politics.
My name is Andrew Shepard, and I am the president.
Well, what do we know? What do we know about Madam President?
Well, as we mentioned, we know that when she was 27, she was elected to the state legislature. We know eventually she becomes a congressperson. We can presume she did not become a senator.
No,
or
she
governor.
gives big Beto vibes.
Yeah. So what we don't know is what her immediate role was before president, because as a congressperson running for president, that's usually not the path.
Well, if it's a young, charismatic, good-looking politician from Texas who doesn't need to actually carry her home state to win, it's not surprising that she could become a national figure in some way. Maybe the previous president was a Democrat. We know she's a Democrat. Maybe the previous Democrat who was president elevated her to some position, whether within the cabinet, whether at the UN. I'm just guessing.
I get Mayor Pete vibes, and not for the reasons you're thinking, Ben, but I'm getting some Buttigieg vibes.
Yeah.
Somebody who was already on the cusp of their own national reputation. Not even cusp, but like probably maybe she was popular on the talk shows. She maybe didn't run for president like Pete did, but people knew who she was. And so by putting her into a cabinet level position, it was to solidify her role as a national political figure, allowing her to run for president without ever achieving a statewide campaign success.
Yep.
You know, I'll go with that. So what do you think? Which department, which cabinet do you think, position do you think she had, Ben?
I mean, would you go with transportation? Would you go with interior? Would you go with? I mean, she's got some foreign service credo here. You know, she's going for this trade deal with the UK. Maybe she was an ambassador.
I'm going to say education's too soft. I don't see Secretary of Education as being viewed as a stepping stone to that. I'll say state is too much of its own role, that when you're Secretary of State, that's kind of the role you get when you're out of the running for president. I think transportation is just too wonkish. Labor is interesting because it's about jobs. But because she's from Texas, I'm going to go with energy.
Okay. Well, commerce also. I mean, the economy, you're running on that. She's really focused on the Rust Belt.
Yes, she is. In fact, that comes up. We do get to meet her opponent, a man named Richards, the GOP challenger. They flat out say he is GOP. We know
GOP.
he is.
He is the governor of Michigan.
Yes. Yeah. Do you think anyone tried to kidnap him, Ben? Yeah.
I don't think anybody wants to spend too much time with that guy.
Yeah, the few times, we get to see him give a speech where he hammers President Uma on the decimation of Midwestern towns and the loss of factory jobs. Prosperity is one of his key campaign words. He's
losing 2 manufacturing jobs every minute, which, by the way, Michigan is like, I would include that as like Midwest area. So if you're the governor, like, you don't take any responsibility for job loss in your own state, Mr. Governor Richards.
Maybe he's kind of, it could be like a DeSantis type thing, where, like how during COVID, because Florida was relative to Alabama and Louisiana and Georgia had better numbers, he's able to talk about success, even if he actually had a higher mortality rate than like California and all the liberal states he's constantly comparing himself to. So maybe Michigan is relatively doing better than Indiana, Wisconsin.
But still worse compared to every other place in the country.
But he definitely comes across as more, I would say, Bushian or Romneyan than, say, Trumpian.
Yes, he comes across as, kill him with kindness, a little bit of Reagan in him.
Yeah.
He's smiling. He's not calling anybody names. He's not barking at anybody. He's respectful in the way that he's taking down the current president.
Right. Yeah. We've already established she does not think she needs Texas to become president, even though she's from Texas.
Yeah. We know that she does not want to become the first woman to lose re-election. So we're establishing that in this world, there's already been a 2-term woman president.
Yeah. We know she wrote a book probably before she ran for president. That seems to be the first step toward announcing these days. Yeah. You time it with your book release. We know the first gentleman is at least a Catholic, if not also a congressperson, not a senator. I don't know if I would go that far. But yet he's also in D.C., though. So he's not a state senator or state rep.
No, he's on committees that are broadcast on C-SPAN that nobody watches.
Yeah. Now, how does that work? Would you ever have to recuse yourself if they're going to impeach the president? Would you have to stay out of that one?
I don't know. If you think that you have the votes to survive, then you recuse. And if you don't, then you vote. That's politics, baby.
Yeah. I'm looking at my notes. For Henry, we forgot to mention, they do make it very clear he's got a dead dad. So they're totally Princess Diana.
You say it very clear, like as if we see the dead body.
Look, it's British royalty. We don't know. They may keep the body in polyurethane on display at all times.
Any time he brings up his dead father, the screen slowly goes to black, and then it comes back up, and you see a corpse. It's not even like how he died. It's like a GoPro inside an actual casket. It seems real. It seems like they might have dug up a casket and put it in.
Yeah,
a GoPro in with it. It's so vivid with the worms
and they have to keep recharging the battery of the GoPro. What is that? It's pretty gross. But they
hammer it home. We get it. He has a dead dad.
In terms of politics, what more do we know? I mean, in the book, she was like a constitutional attorney, but we're not gonna get into the book.
The election is freaking weird to me. The night of the election, it's all hinging on Texas.
Which she didn't think she needed to win.
Which she didn't think she needed to win. And also, the GOP, this is a world where the GOP is taking, Minnesota.
I mean, here's what it should have been, Ben. Instead of it hinging on Texas, she should have been right. She got the Rust Belt votes. She got the votes she need. So what Texas doesn't give her, it doesn't give her the victory. You know what Texas gives her, Ben?
What does Texas give her, Eric?
The mandate.
Oh, the mandate. Yeah.
This is what the movie's about.
She gives a speech. She's like, this is the real mandate. and her son's like, Mom, I thought you were cool. That's so not cool to say right now. She's like, what? The two of you are so cute together.
Yeah.
Wear a condom.
How? Because I'm the goddamn president of the United States of America.
So the movie definitely does parallel real life as much as possible, or at least it does up to a point. Because the book, from what I can tell, it was written in the run-up to the 2016 election, so written in 2015, some of 2016, in which the author, like most of America, was already thinking, what if you had a progressive female president, and they had a child who could be this gay icon at some point when they fall in love with.
Queer icon. He does not identify
Yes.
as gay. He's
That is
very
correct.
clear that he is bi.
Yes, thank you for the correction, Ben. So the author's intent, from what I can tell, was to write something that intentionally paralleled real life as much as possible, but with this queer twist. But after the 2016 election, things did not go that way. So it goes from being this play on real life to now being like wish fulfillment fantasy that people are reading because they want to live in that world, because that's not the world that they currently live in.
No, not at all.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why this book might have actually had some crossover success. This is not what you would call the book wasn't just successful amongst the queer audience, but as for anyone who's interested in reading about a political reality which was as far from the actual reality as possible, like a true fork in the road, and you want to go down that other path.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they turn it into this movie, which winds up feeling, does it feel dated as all to you, Ben, politically?
I mean, it feels dated in the sense that all the politicians are nice. Everybody's nice. And it's not, and they're not nice because they're like, we need to heal. They're just like, feel like politicians who don't actually exist. Because there's not even like that hard side where it's like, oh, I'm facing front in this way, but behind the scenes, I'm a tough talker. It's blah, 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 blah. It's a little too nice across the board. What the author and what the writers and what Matthew Lopez have done, they all did create real characters with real emotion and real motivation and real fears, and all of that felt real to me. But once you got into the politics of it all, it just felt fake and hokey.
But far more real than it should have been. No, there's real political parties. And that's something that so many movies just instantly punt on, and they didn't do it here. And so that right there tells me that either A, they knew their audience wouldn't care about rooting for.
Oh, the audience would not give a shit about. Don't give a shit.
But it also tells me that they did value trying to attempt an approximation of real politics in a way that a lot of rom-coms avoid. Like, First Daughter, where were the real politics in that movie? We haven't seen Chasing Liberty. Chasing Liberty, that's what it was. Not Finding Liberty.
No.
We haven't seen Chasing Liberty yet, but...
Finding Liberty is the sequel, Eric.
How? Because I'm the goddamn president of the United States of America.
So we're talking a bit about, the book and movie were both developed basically from pre-Trump to during Trump.
Yeah.
The end result, do you think this movie eventually winds up ultimately saying anything about our current political era, 2023?
No, because it already feels dated in 2023.
And I would say dated, but not in a bad way. It just feels locked into a political reality that we wound up not really experiencing. And they stuck to that. That was what the book was about. That's what the movie's about. They could have really trumped it up. And in many ways, like one thing that doesn't become an issue is you do not see all the right-wingers who would be spewing venom about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have your majority Green Taylors saying exactly what you think they would be saying if one of Biden's sons.
They didn't even feel like, although they had Rachel Maddow, Joy Reid, they didn't feel the need to create like a fake Tucker character.
Yeah.
To be that sort of Greek chorus of what we would all think would happen in a situation like this.
Which is, I think, one of the reasons why the book, and I would presume why the movie too, strikes a chord, is it's a world where to be gay and is not just by default a bad thing. Yep. It makes you an other. Like, it's a world where, no, we're past the gay marriage is a thing. Like, that it'd be one thing if this movie was all about trying to make it legal, and now all of a sudden having a gay son or a bisexual son forces you to rethink that issue. And then you have to see people holding posters and billboards and protesters in front of the Supreme Court and whatnot, having to hash out this issue. But that issue is settled here. It's a relatively socially progressive America, which in 2014, 2015 would feel like the America that you're in and moving towards.
Yeah.
Which is why the big fight in this movie is ultimately about jobs and factories. Yeah. And the movie, by embracing that, I think had it gone the more Trumpian way, we might not be talking about it right now. It might not have done as well. Either the viewers would have felt it was a betrayal of what they'd read in the book, or the movie itself just might have wound up being more of a lightning rod than it needed to be. and would have been more divisive.
Yeah.
So by sanding off the edges politically, it does allow you to focus on what the movie is really about, and that's the relationships. So that's what I think it says about 2023.
Okay, and the movie ends with President Claremont winning re-election in a nail-biter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the country is still heavily divided.
Yeah.
I mean, we looking at that electoral map, it's very, very red across the board.
Those maps always bug me because there is no true red or blue state.
Because it's not based on population.
No, it's all shades of purple though. You know, and yeah, then there's also the land issue. Yeah, you look at a big red thing of Texas, and it ignores the fact that most of Texas no one lives on. Are you saying trees are Republican or the cows are whatever? Yeah, and so those maps.
I would say trees are Democrat, cows are Republican.
Oh, cows really interesting. Yeah. You don't think cows are vegan?
Bulls, definitely Republican.
Okay.
Cows are Democrats. Baby cows, when they're veal, are Republican.
Although, you know, if you could somehow eat an aborted cow fetus, that would definitely be something very popular in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You would run on that. The first person who would open up that restaurant would automatically become the lieutenant governor of the state. I think that might even be in the Constitution of Texas.
Motherfucker, I'm not asking if you're interested. I'm the president of the United fucking States, man.
Approval ratings. Well, we know she wins. We know her margin of victory at the end. You know, we can presume it was a tight race vote-wise. I'll say in this world, because right now we live in a world where I don't know if we'll ever see a president get above 49 ever again, based on the way polling works and the fact that even amongst people who agree with you politically, there's just so many people who just don't want to admit to a phone poller that they like you.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of people who will vote for Trump reluctantly, who if you call up and you say, do you support, you know, do you approve of them? They'll say no. A lot of people who will eventually vote for Biden, but if you call them right now and say, do you approve of Biden? They will say no.
Yep.
Yeah. But this is not that world. This is a world where I think she's going to enter her second term in the 50s.
I'm with you on that one. I think this is probably even an election, even though, however red that map looks, the big population centers still go blue. I think she probably actually won the election by 7-8 million actual votes in the popular vote. I think that does put her popularity right then and there at the end in the mid 50s.
Okay. And then legacy, I think it's kind of obvious.
I mean, the UK deal, what goes through, all those jobs. I mean, though it didn't turn into votes, she didn't win those states.
No, but she'll still employ them.
I still think she saved a lot of factories that make stuff that Brits need, like tea bags and teacups and those scarves that they love to wear with their favorite football teams written on it. All those things made in America that we export to good old Britain.
Oddly, you know what her real legacy is? They'll never know it in this world, because in this world they've avoided it. Is obviously she was elected in 2016. She's the Hillary Clinton stand-in. You know, 2016 she wins. This whole election takes place during 2020.
She is not obviously a 2016 because it establishes that a female was president before her.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. She says she doesn't want to be the first female not to win a second term.
Yeah, because she's already the first woman president.
They don't say that.
No, that's what I'm saying. Go in here. She's the first woman president. Therefore, if she loses, like that will now be what she was. She'll be Obama was the first African American president, and if he didn't win that second term, people would always be talking about that.
It didn't seem like she said it like that. It made it seem like there was another female president. Yeah.
I totally disagree. I think the whole point of this movie is is 2016. Hillary Clinton won. She is the first female president, but she doesn't want her real legacy to be that she never got a second term.
Oh, that did not come across to me at all.
That totally came across to me, which is why I do think it's 2016. And I think the re-election campaign is during 2020. And that's why it's very telling to me that in a movie made during the era of COVID, set during 2020, there is no mention of COVID, because that is what her real legacy is. She saved America from COVID. But we'll never know it, because we'll never know how bad it could have been.
Yeah. Well, that's been Fake Presidents.
And that's been Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Theme music, as always, by Johnny Sadoff. Artwork by Ann Hecker.
You can find us on Threads. We are at fake_presidents. Instagram, fake_presidents. I, Eric Buckman, am on both Threads at eBuckman and also Blue Sky at eBuckman.
I have no interest in any of those social media apps anymore.
I've offered Ben my Blue Sky invite codes. He has said no. I've yet to use any of them. But I will say this, fans of this show, you're our friends. If you listen to the show, you're one of the good people. Send us an email at fakepresidents@gmail.com. No underscores. Say, hey, I'd like to be your friend on Blue Sky, but I don't have an invite code. I will send you
Ooh, I like
an invite
this.
code. Yeah, until I run out.
You guys should rate, review, subscribe.
Yes,
to the
please do.
podcast.
It helps so much. I've been Eric Buckman.
I've been Ben Oren.
See you on the flip side.
Bye. Why'd that happen? Guys, I obviously can't. After he made his air quotes, little balloons popped up all around.
Okay, I totally forgot. This is a thing that's going around the internet. So Sonoma, I've upgraded my operating system. In any program that you're using the built-in FaceTime cam, so even if you're not using FaceTime, but the actual Apple camera baked into the operating system are certain things that will be triggered through hand gestures that can cause certain things to appear behind you.
How does that doing those air quotes lead to balloons? What else did you do? Were you
What did you think I was doing? I'm doing it again. No? Thumbs up?
I think maybe you have to make it seem like you're holding
Oh,
balloons.
yeah. If you thumbs up, okay.
No, but do it
you
like
get
you're
the
holding
thumbs up
balloons, like you're yanking them up and down. Yeah,
Nope,
now
that's
faster.
Okay, no, Ben, sorry.
Okay.
But I'm doing the air quotes again, not getting balloons.
A celebration?
Trying
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Nothing's happening. This is all good content for our YouTube channel.